The Pacers won, and by a lot. They absolutely clobbered the lowly Wizards by over 30 points for win number 3, and by golly, the Pacers are guarding again. We'll talk about it all on this weekend Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday/weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, the Pacers have a third win. They crush, and I mean crush, the Washington Wizards by 33 points. They won a cup game, the first Pacers Cup win without Jordan Nwora and Bruce Brown and Buddy Hield on their team ever. And the Wizards had no chance. The Pacers guarded very well in the second half of this game, only allowing 34 points in a half. The Pacers scored 34 in just the second quarter. Siakam was absolutely dominant, as he should be in a game like this. They got 20 points from Ben Mathurin, who honestly had a wobbly game and still arose for 20 points. He was quite good. The bench continues to actually be kind of decent. New starting five and a win. Win number 3 for the Pacers. I'm going to say this now, so you can all just remind yourselves of it. Put a blanket. Yes, they played the Wizards over everything I'm going to say. The Wizards are very bad. They're the worst team in the league by record now, even. The Pacers have passed them in wins. That is all true. They are not very good. They did just win a game this week. Here's what I will say, though. And this is what I think that a takeaway from this game is, mostly because it's kind of a trend. The Pacers defense was actually legitimately quite good in this game. And I mentioned but it's the Wizards caveat because, yes, the Wizards are not a good team. Their offensive rating is 28th in the NBA, only ahead of the Mavs and of the Pacers. But they still only scored 86 points in this game. And again, caveat about who the team is if you want to, but the Pacers haven't allowed fewer than 90 since 2022 entering this game. Many of you remember that game. It was a very fun Heat Pacers game. The Pacers lost. They gave up 87 and lost 87-82 to the Heat. They allowed 90 plus in every single game they played since then. They allowed 86 today. 3 years is kind of like it does not matter what the opponent is. They have never held the Wizards under 90 in that stretch since. They gave up 77 to the Bulls in November of 2021. That's the last time they allowed fewer points than they did today against the Wizards, right? So just raw numbers in this game, that's thing one is their defense was good. Thing two, and the reason you kind of can throw the whole it's just the Wizards to the side is just a few days ago, they played Toronto Wednesday. Toronto is 6th in the NBA in offensive rating. Their half-court offense is much improved. Their transition offense, they run a ton. That team can score. They've been scoring. They just won the Cup group in NBA Group A, the Pacers group. And they held them to 97. 2 games in a row, the Pacers have held their opponent under 100 points. And their defensive rating, which at one point fell into the bottom 5, but at one point before that was actually kind of decent, is up to 20th. And that means there's 10 teams behind them. The Pacers are out of the bottom 10 in defense after these last 2 games. I'm not saying they're a good defensive team, but they're certainly taking the steps towards looking much more competent on that end of the floor. So even against, yes, just the Wizards in this game, this is a continuing trend of some better performances. They had good moments outside of their one terrible stretch against the Pistons. They had some good moments outside of one terrible third quarter against the Cavs. These are the hallmarks of a not as good defense as the numbers say in some cases when you only do it at times. But a lot of stretches of late have been better for this team on the less glamorous end of the floor. And I thought that was the right focus. I asked a lot about the defense after the game to talk about with the Pacers is what is actually happening? Why do the Pacers feel like this is going so much better? Because 2 things stood out about it. One is that, Jarris, when I asked him about the Pacers giving up all these runs, I asked him about it after the Pistons game on Monday. And he said, yeah, I feel like it's our defense. And in this game, at one point in the second quarter, it was actually still a close game. The Wizards went on a 9-0 run to tie the game. And then the Pacers defense ratcheted up a bunch and the Wizards couldn't score again, and the Pacers got out of the run, got their lead back to double figures, and then comfortably ran away with the game after basically what I would consider the last Washington punch of the game. That's one big part of this, is if your defense continues to get better, runs like the 2 that have cost them wins in both of their other games this week will be either less frequent or just straight up impossible, right? So obviously from a game flow and a winning games perspective, it's a big deal. Like if you boil down what I just said to simple basketball math, yeah, it's very obvious. Getting more stops is good, and getting more stops gives you a better chance to stop runs. In this game, it was just tenacious defense. They started Jay Huff instead of Isaiah Jackson, and Huff has, when he's been able to be around the rim, been a pretty good defender of late. He's second in the league in block rate. Only Wemby has been higher. 4 blocks in 21 minutes today. Siakam was willpower defending in this game. Jarris Walker was willpower defending in this game. Ben Mathurin had a quite good defensive game. Rick Carlisle even pointing that out post-game, not that he didn't make some mistakes. And Ben Shepherd is always going to fight through every screen and had a nice defensive game himself, right? They just all contributed in some way. CJ McCollum struggles shooting from the field at 5 for 13. Most of the guys who were more accurate for the Wizards had a bajillion turnovers, like Chris Middleton had 4 turnovers in this game. Bilal Coulibaly had 4 turnovers in this game. Like, it was just a struggle for anyone on the Wizards to really get going. Again, yes, these are Wizards players, but they've done better than this before the season. In fact, I wonder, I should have checked that. Is this the fewest points that the Wizards have scored in a game this season? That would also be another tip of the cap for the Pacers. Even if the Wizards are not very good and they have the 3rd worst offense, 86 is still such a low raw number to score in a game, and yet that's where they landed in this one. The Wizards scored 94 against Orlando on November 1st, and that 98 in their final preseason game against the Pistons. Other than that, they've been over 100 in every game they've played this year. This is the 2nd worst offense in the NBA. Obviously, a few games in the low 100s, but again, say what you want about how bad the Wizards are. They're not very good. The Pacers defended them extremely well, and I keep talking about all the numbers and about all the some facts about it. The how they did it part was a little bit of pride and a little bit of rim protection. And I actually noted a few games ago that their rim protection has felt a little better, not like significantly so, but the Raptors game they just played was a good juxtaposition, because the first time they played Toronto, the Raptors just had a layup line like all game, and they had a horrible rim defense game against Atlanta, and those 2 games were the most helpless Pacers defense games of the season to me. Obviously Utah's in there as well. And in those games, it just feels like the Pacers are just letting them take practice shots at the basket. But their defensive improvements, particularly around the basket, between the first and second Raptors game they played were very noticeable in terms of how much better they were at keeping their own man out of the paint. And then when that fell apart, as it does, it's the NBA. There's going to be ball screens. There's going to be strong individual plays. There's going to be handoffs, whatever, that free up somebody. The guys they have behind the play have been more effective at rotating, at being a big center, at whatever. And that has collectively made them a better rim defense team. 38 points in the paint for the Wizards today. That's an extremely low number in the NBA. And they couldn't really get passes going out of there. Only 18 assists for the Wizards. Some of that's that they shot poorly from 3. But you have to give the Pacers credit that you can see and feel their focus shift toward taking away the paint from these teams. And the other stat Rick Carlisle keeps bringing up that I think is noteworthy, and by the way, keeping teams away from scoring at the paint is an everybody thing. It's a perimeter player you're guarding. It's a Jay Huff at the basket thing. It's very active, by the way. Isaiah Jackson was good in this game. Him around the basket. And getting healthier. I think this, like, every time Dustin Dopirak was doing a good job asking about this post game. Like, every time everybody talks about health and chemistry, it's about offense. Like, on offense, when you have the ball, it's much easier to see players interact with each other because there's a ball involved. It's very clear that those 2 players have chosen to interact. On defense, when everybody's moving around, yeah, they're reacting to the ball, but it's harder to tell, like, who is connected or who's supposed to be doing certain connected things to defend certain actions. But defensive chemistry matters too. And they've had a lot of the same available players for the last couple of games, and they really haven't all season. Jay Huff knocked on wood after Dustin noted that to him. But I think that's also a good point, and part of their defensive improvements is they have had a largely this same group they had today with injured Nembhard in some cases, by the way. He didn't even play. I haven't even said that yet in a good defensive game. And so this all culminated in a really, really solid defensive outing that the team was actually very proud of. They did a really good job slowing the Wizards down at a lot of stuff they wanted to do. They did a good job rebounding in this game. Pacers with 57 boards. They forced a bunch of turnovers to their credit. So just an overall very, very solid defensive game from the now better on defense than offense Indiana Pacers. How about that? I had a lot of notes about defense throughout the game, but my first one was related to the Pacers playing bad on offense. I just put, will anyone score ever, right? Like, that's how goofy this game was at times, but you give credit to the Pacers for the team that eventually found a way to score and ascended. And ended up playing a very, very good defensive game. So that's the story of this one for the Pacers, not because it was impressive. Well, it was impressive. It was a good defensive game, but not that it was like so amazing that a team could hold the Wizards to a bad night, but because no one has held the Wizards to that bad of a night all season. The Pacers haven't held anyone, any team, any crappy offense to that low of a point total in 3 years. And it comes on the heels of another good defensive performance from a team that wasn't defending particularly well earlier this season. That is all stuff for the Pacers to hope to build on. And they play Chicago, who's really reeling and struggling right now. They got beat in Charlotte by the Hornets last night. Tonight, where they'll try to keep going on this defense. And I think, too, they're doing the best they can with Nembhard and Nesmith out to put the best defensive lineups they possibly can on the floor. But if Mathurin defends well, which has happened more often than not this season, to be clear, Shepherd, Walker, Siakam, Huff, Mathurin is pretty close to their best defensive lineup. Robinson, Earl maybe can give you some good defensive minutes. Huff recently has been a better defender, or at least more impactful than Jackson. McConnell is a good defender, but is small, so it's limited on the guys he can actually be on. I don't think there's any case for Garrison Matthews or Tony Bradley to be in there. So there are a lot of other guys you could squint and say maybe it's 4 out of their 5 best defenders, but that group defended quite well, and the Pacers got a win for it. And because of the results, I guess I should share this part now. So the way the NBA Cup works, the Pacers did not get out of their group. Obviously, they only went 1-3. By the way, they beat the Wizards by so much their point differential in the Cup ends up being even 0, even though they went 1-3. So the way the Cup works is they schedule 2 games for you, for every team, based on how you did in the Cup. So the Pacers still finished low in their group, so they were likely to be paired up with other lowly placed teams, and they try to limit travel. That's why New Orleans is always going to be a team that plays intra-conference games. Like last year, the Pacers played them. This year, the Pelicans play the Bulls. Anyway, I'm over-explaining something you don't need explained. The Pacers' 2 new games, they'll play the Philadelphia 76ers in Philly on December 12th. That's a Friday night, 7 p.m. game. And then they'll host the same Wizards team on the Sunday after that. That's Sunday the 14th at 3 p.m. So that is what was given to the Pacers after this. That is when they turned their season around last year. Obviously, their goals might be different this season than last year, but defense was the name of the game for the Pacers and has been a little bit. Now let's talk about the rest of this game. The starting lineup shift with Nembhard out, Siakam going crazy, how ugly this game was at times. Good stuff from a couple other of players all coming here on Locked On Pacers. But first, everybody, let me talk to you about DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up. DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you are automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag that has player-inspired drip and exclusive gear, stuff you actually want. They have more than just food on DoorDash. You can get snacks, drinks, headphones, ice, socks, whatever, all delivered. Tons of options. They have you covered for the late night highlights and last minute watch parties. So next time somebody goes off for 50, use the promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass. Plus your shot at the Bag Drop. Dash Pass members only. 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for more details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. We are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Locked On Wizards for your second listen. Hear about the other side of this game. No Trey Johnson. Some promising-ish stuff. Alex Sarr was very productive once again. And their young guys, Cam Whitmore made half his shots. Not a ton of other great stuff going on for the Wizards in this game. Keyshawn George played some good defense. Or Locked On Hoosiers or Boilermakers. If you're an in-state Bucket fan and want to relive that game, I imagine that would only be from one side, but perhaps that could be of interest to you. I am wearing an IU shirt. I'm very sorry. I know people listen from Purdue, and I feel very bad about it, but only today do I feel bad about it. Okay, let's go through more of Pacers Wizards via the notebook. A lot of players and stuff stood out, but let's start with the starting lineup shift. Jay Huff goes in, and he's just been playing pretty well of late, right? Like they figured out this zone defense thing to get him around the rim more. And this is kind of like chicken and egg stuff, right? Do you have a guy play more to get him playing better so that he can then play more? Or does the guy need to play well to get the chances to play more? And so with Huff, they figured out this zone defense thing that allowed him to be more effective defensively. And then because he was being more effective defensively, he could play more. And because he was playing more, he started to get better chemistry with his teammates and become a better player. And because of that, he got to play more. So just it all kind of came together for him. And I'm not even saying Isaiah Jackson like deserved a demotion. I still think Isaiah Jackson probably has the highest highs of any center on this team, but Huff's putting together quite the string of consistency right now. 5 for 6 tonight, 6 boards, 4 blocks. He's just blocking everything all the time. It's very impressive. He still has some stuff to clean up. Like this play will stick in my brain forever. When they were playing the Cavs last week at home, and he got, just how a possession worked. I want to say it was like semi-transition and then a quick screen, and there was a switch. He was guarding Karis LeVert, and LeVert was set up on the left side, and Karis LeVert did like one pretty basic crossover, and he just got by Jay Huff immediately, and it was not even close, right? I don't even mean that to say anything negative about Jay Huff, who can defend the rim very well and is a very good defender as a 5, but he is not a good perimeter defender in the way that Isaiah Jackson is very good at that, right? So there are limitations to what he does. It's very different, but he is playing quite well. He is making shots now after struggling to start the season, and he was productive today. And I think that is a look that they like. I keep talking about that group with McConnell and the big 3 and Huff. That's been pretty good. No Nembhard in this game, obviously, for the big 3 part of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck with this, and chances that they could. Jay Huff hit an early 3 that actually helped get the Pacers going after they fell behind. So really interesting start for the Pacers. But Shepherd started also without Andrew Nembhard. He got the CJ McCollum assignment since Jarris Walker started the last game. I guess it's fair to say Shepherd got the start. And 3 for 4 for 3 from Ben Shepherd. Here he comes. 2 games in a row. Very accurate. 2 games in a row with multiple makes. 5 assists, 3 boards. No one is questioning my life on Shepherd Island right now. We had a party after the Raptors game, and now we're living it up. We got even more rations after doing so. So another quality outing from Ben Shepherd. The Pacers will need many more of them to feel good about it. Let's talk about some individuals. Jarris Walker really came alive in the second half of this game. He had a great drive to the rim in the first half. So after a hot run of shooting for him where it felt like, oh, this is good, this is making him look very productive, he's finishing the plays that are intended to go to him. He missed all his 3s in this one, but went 3 for 5 on 2s and had 7 rebounds and only 1 turnover. So he still found a way to be productive. He had a very, very good third quarter where he really emerged in this game. Some tidy finishes, things of that nature. So good for Jarris Walker. He's on, I think, now 5 or 6 games in a row that I would say were overall positive from him. In this one, a reverse dunk in this game, free throws, rebounds. That whole third quarter stretch was impressive. Isaiah Jackson had a driving layup from like the kind of left side of the floor, used the rim as a defender going under it for a finish. So, he was finding space for the dunks every time he'd flash and cut. I liked his activity in this game. I liked the way he played. Statistically, obviously, when you go 5 for 7, you're going to look good and have, 10 points. But the other thing for him that was really interesting is, the debate all summer about the Pacers starting center. I said, I think Isaiah Jackson should start when the season starts, and that proved to be right. But I only thought that because he's their best center to me. If Huff's fit with the starters is decent, Isaiah Jackson paired pretty well with McConnell. They've played together for years of their career. I want to see more of this because there's a chance this is just a played the Wizards thing, right? The Wizards, the worst one thing in the NBA. If you split up every team's offense and defense into that's one thing, right? The worst thing in the NBA is the Wizards defense. I mean, it is just awful. They left this game with a 122.4 defensive rating. That is higher than any team's offensive or defensive rating. So numerically, that is measurable, but that is the worst thing. So keep that in mind, again, as a blanket statement over all this. But I wonder if there is some synergy with McConnell that makes Isaiah Jackson's activity work a little better, and we'll be able to see that in future games when they play better opponents. Is that a thing? But Isaiah Jackson was quite good and quite active in this game. Pascal Siakam just cooked everybody. He was really getting going in the second quarter. He was defending his butt off, too. He did a lot of good stuff in this game. 11 for 20, 24 points, 11 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, and no turnovers, 1 foul. Plus 32. Plus 32. There was a point in the game, I think the Pacers were up 5, and he was plus 21 or something. I mean, he was just by far, as he should be, looking at both rosters, by the way. He was by far the best player on the court. Some just general game notes for the Pacers. Actually, I'll do both teams. The Jay Huff and Shepherd 3s early were really big for the Pacers, but also big for them was, 1, forcing turnovers early in this game. That obviously helps your defense. The Wizards finished with 17 of those turnovers, a lot of them of the live ball variety, and the bench was good again. This is like a week straight of the bench not just sinking the Pacers every time they come in the game. I think some of that is obviously that TJ McConnell has been awesome the last week and a half, and Isaiah Jackson being good too. Tony Bradley played spot minutes for various reasons in this game. He didn't miss a shot. Garrison Matthews finally awoke in the second half. He made a shot in the first half, but it was quite bad, but it was much better in the second half. Robinson Earl scooping up every rebound. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, third on the Pacers in assists in this game. The bench has been much, much, much better. I know there's, this is a note that kind of goes two ways, because I just talked about some of these players playing quite well in this game. We talk so much about, okay, they're healthier. What can we analyze? What can't we? And I talk about, well, yeah, they're getting healthier. Maybe there is stuff to analyze. And then I look down from my 107, and on the floor is TJ McConnell, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Ben Shepherd, Garrison Matthews, Isaiah Jackson. In the competitive part of the game, it's like, is this actually analyzable? And yet, in garbage time, out comes Talon Peter, Ray J. Dennis, Tony Bradley, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, and Garrison Matthews. And you go, yes, they have you know how they're healthy? You know they're healthy? Because they have a garbage time group that is a garbage time group, with absolutely no offense to any of those players. Tony Bradley came in and drove like a monster to the basket with that group on the floor. Mathurin was, you score 20 points, it's quite good. Like, I thought this was a lower end of the spectrum game for Mathurin for a 20-point game, to be clear. He played well. He had a good game. But, like, this was one of his worst 20-point games, which is a weird thing to say. He was good. Clearly, like, early, they cleared out the side of the floor, had him and Siakam run a pick and roll. Great, Siakam scores. Wizards turn over the next possession. Here comes Ben Mathurin. And he had a lot of, like, goofy drives. He had one drive into a crowd that was just, like, miserably bad. He had one drive into a crowd where he threw up a gorgeous left-handed layup that I have no idea how he even made it. It's just such a him thing. But after I typed some not great Mathurin moments the last few minutes, this is in the third quarter. After that, he drills a three and he points up to the sky with some level of relief. And then his defense was great the rest of the game. Like, even when he played a little bad, he just is still quite good at a lot of stuff. And he was much better as the game went on. He had an up fake and that just easily blew by a terrible defender for a dunk. Like, just the game is slowing down level stuff. I don't think, like, the stats will not bear this out as a bad game. It was not a bad game. He was plus 29 with 20 points. He did a lot of stuff that I think would be frustrating to him, even as stuff that he would like to improve. And yet he still finished with a great stat line and a good performance. So even a bad Mathurin game right now is still a good performance. He is absolutely balling for almost all of this season for the Pacers. This game had some ugly moments. I have 5 notes that are just like, ew. First one is, dear God, some ugly plays. Jarris Walker, like, completely airballed the shot. Then another one about how sad some of the low moments were in the first half of this game. I mean, Jay Huff dribbled into a turnover at one point after taking it across half court. And then the next possession, Justin Champagnie shot it off the top of the backboard for the Wizards. And then the next possession, Bub Carrington committed a terrible double dribble in transition. It was just a mess. At one point, Bub Carrington just stood there while Ben Shepherd flew and dove in for the ball. And that was right after TJ McConnell dove for the ball. Like, the effort swings in this game were huge. The Pacers were way, way, way more invested in a lot of that stuff. Credit to them. Last guy, notes on Garrison Matthews for the first time. He debuted in Cleveland and didn't make any shots and didn't really do anything. In this game, he did make shots. His first points with the Pacers, he made 2 threes, and he got fouled on a 3. That's actually a thing he's quite good at. I think he's taken the second most threes generated from a shooting foul like the last 5 seasons in the NBA. I think only James Harden is higher. So he goes 2 for 7 with 9 points. He made 2 threes. I overall thought that he did not play very well. Like, if he goes 2 for 7, he's not making much. He's got to be, like, really, really efficient to be really helpful. And he just had a lot of defensive moments that were a little head scratching and a not great turnover and a not great foul here and there. He's got a lot of the discipline stuff going on. He has one more game on his current deal, the Chicago game tonight. We'll see how that goes, obviously, and we'll see if the Pacers even get another hardship. It might come down to some combination of Nesmith, Furphy, and Cam Jones timelines and their return to play to know if it's even possible for the Pacers to add another one. And that, my friends, is Pacers Wizards. We'll do Pacers Bulls tomorrow, and then we'll get into our regularly scheduled week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this weekend. I hope you're having a fun Thanksgiving weekend with your families. If you're already done with that part, great. Thank you for listening to a basketball podcast on the weekend. Enjoy your Saturday. We'll be talking Pacers Bulls from the snow tomorrow. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you very soon.